A man who lets go fully shows strength, maturity, and self-respect. Clinging or chasing pushes her away, but freedom sparks respect. When you focus on yourself, set boundaries, and embrace your growth, a woman naturally takes you seriously. Letting go isn't weakness, it's the ultimate power. Letting go is not just an action, it is a reflection of your inner strength and emotional maturity. Many people confuse letting go with weakness, with giving up, or with indifference. But the truth is far from that. When you truly let go, you demonstrate that your happiness, your peace, and your sense of self are not dependent on someone else's actions, opinions, or approval. Emotional maturity is not measured by how desperately you hold on to someone or something, but by how gracefully you release it when it no longer serves your growth. A man who understands this doesn't panic when things don't go his way. He doesn't obsess over every message, every call, or every reaction. Instead, he maintains his composure, knowing that life is bigger than a single moment of disappointment or rejection. Letting go shows that you are not reactive, you are reflective. You process your emotions, understand your boundaries, and make conscious decisions rather than acting out of fear or attachment. Emotional maturity is also about self-awareness. When you let go, you show that you recognize your worth. You understand that no one else can define your value and that trying to force respect or affection is never the way to earn it. Women in particular notice this. When a man demonstrates that he is grounded, that he is secure in himself, and that he doesn't need constant validation, it creates a sense of trust and respect. They see a man who can handle life's challenges without losing his center, who can navigate relationships with balance, and who values his own peace over temporary satisfaction. Letting go requires courage. It means releasing control over outcomes, trusting the flow of life, and prioritizing long-term emotional well-being over short-term comfort. It is a conscious decision to not be consumed by frustration, jealousy, or fear. Emotional maturity is understanding that some battles are not yours to fight, and that forcing things often leads to unnecessary pain. By letting go, you demonstrate patience, wisdom, and resilience, qualities that cannot be faked or forced. When you practice letting go, you also create space for real connection. A relationship built on mutual respect, understanding, and appreciation thrives, while one built on attachment and desperation suffocates. Women are naturally drawn to men who can hold their emotions with integrity, who do not overreact, and who maintain calm in the face of challenges. Emotional maturity shines brightest not in what you say, but in what you choose to release. The ability to let go shows strength, clarity, and a profound understanding of oneself, and that is magnetic in every sense of the word. Many people mistake control for love or attention, believing that holding on tightly or dictating outcomes will make someone respect or care for them. But the reality is far different. Respect cannot be forced, it cannot be demanded, and it certainly cannot be manufactured through control. True respect emerges naturally when a person demonstrates integrity, self-confidence, and balance. When you focus on control, you show insecurity, fear, and a lack of trust, not strength. Women instinctively sense this. When a man tries to manipulate situations, monitor every action, or insist on constant attention, it diminishes his value in their eyes. Control pushes people away, while respect draws them closer. Choosing respect over control begins with self-awareness. It is realizing that you cannot change someone else, that you cannot dictate their emotions, thoughts, or actions, and that your happiness is not tied to their responses. A man who chooses respect over control demonstrates emotional intelligence. He communicates clearly, sets healthy boundaries, and allows space for individuality and growth. By doing so, he earns respect naturally, not through pressure or obligation. Women recognize this distinction immediately. They feel the difference between a man who clings and a man who stands firm in his principles and dignity. Control is often rooted in fear, the fear of losing someone, of being ignored, or of being replaced. But fear is never attractive. It is anxiety dressed up as attachment. When a man lets go of the need to control, he replaces fear with confidence. He becomes steady, predictable, and reliable without being overbearing. This stability is magnetic. Respect thrives in an environment of trust and freedom, not in one of restriction and rules. When a man stops trying to manipulate outcomes, he invites authenticity. A woman responds to authenticity because it allows her to be herself, unpressured, and fully engaged in the relationship. Choosing respect over control also transforms the way a man interacts with challenges. Instead of reacting impulsively to conflict, he approaches situations with clarity, calmness, and thoughtfulness. He listens, understands, and responds, rather than reacting out of frustration or a desire to dominate. This approach fosters mutual understanding, deepens trust, and strengthens the bond between two people. Control may win a moment, but respect builds lasting admiration. When you embrace respect over control, you demonstrate that you are secure in who you are. You are not desperate for validation, and you are not dependent on another's behavior to determine your worth. This independence is powerful. Women sense it immediately because it signals that you value yourself and your peace above temporary gratification. In turn, they are drawn to you, not out of fear or obligation, but out of genuine admiration. Respect over control is not just a strategy in relationships. It is a reflection of a man's character, his maturity, and his understanding of what truly makes connections meaningful and enduring. Freedom is not just a concept, it is a force that shapes attraction and respect. Many people misunderstand what it means to be free in a relationship. Freedom does not mean detachment, indifference, or neglect. It means being secure in yourself, trusting life, and allowing space for both partners to grow. A man who embodies freedom does not chase, does not cling, and does not try to control outcomes. Instead, he stands firm in his values, follows his passions, and lives life on his own terms. This sense of freedom is magnetic. Women are instinctively drawn to men who are comfortable in their independence because it signals confidence, strength, and emotional maturity. When a man constantly seeks approval or fears losing someone, he limits his own energy and diminishes his appeal. Chasing and desperation are exhausting, and they push people away rather than draw them near. On the other hand, a man who prioritizes his own growth, dreams, and purpose demonstrates that his happiness is not dependent on external validation. This is freedom in its purest form. Women notice it, feel it, and are naturally attracted to it. It creates an unspoken respect, a realization that you are a man who cannot be easily swayed or manipulated because you are grounded in your own identity. Freedom also allows for balance in relationships. It creates space for individuality and personal growth, which are essential for long-term connection. When a man is free, he does not cling to every moment, every message, or every reaction. Instead, he participates in the relationship with presence and intention while maintaining his sense of self. This balance is incredibly attractive because it shows that he values both himself and the woman in his life. He does not suffocate, and he does not tolerate unnecessary drama. Freedom sparks attraction because it fosters mutual respect, understanding, and admiration. Another aspect of freedom is trust. A man who is free trusts life and trusts his partner. He does not need to monitor, manipulate, or control. Trust, coupled with freedom, creates a sense of security that is rare and compelling. Women feel safe with a man who embodies freedom, not because he is distant, but because he is confident and unwavering in his self-respect. This confidence invites reciprocity. When a man allows space for the woman to be herself, she naturally responds with respect, appreciation, and engagement. Freedom is about living with purpose and joy. It is about investing in personal growth, passions, and meaningful experiences, rather than focusing solely on the relationship. A man who does this radiates energy, ambition, and passion, qualities that are irresistible. Attraction thrives when a man is fully himself, untethered by insecurity or fear. Freedom is not just liberating for him, it creates an environment where connection, respect, and attraction flourish effortlessly. In life, words are easy to say, but actions reveal the truth of a person's character. Many men believe that simply expressing feelings, making promises, or saying the right things will make a woman respect them. But words without alignment to actions are empty. A woman does not need to hear "I care" or "I respect you." She needs to see it in what you do, in the way you carry yourself, and in how consistently you show up. Actions are the reflection of your integrity, your priorities, and your inner strength, and they speak far louder than any words ever could. A man who truly understands this does not waste energy trying to convince through speech alone. He demonstrates reliability and consistency in small, meaningful ways every day. He keeps his promises, honors his commitments, and behaves in ways that are congruent with his values. This consistency builds trust and admiration. When a woman sees a man who follows through without being prompted, who acts thoughtfully rather than reacts impulsively, she automatically takes him seriously. Actions create credibility, while words alone can often raise doubts or skepticism. Actions over words also show emotional intelligence. A man who practices this does not need to over-explain, justify, or defend himself constantly. His behavior communicates his intentions, priorities, and respect clearly. For instance, when he respects her time, listens attentively, and shows consideration in small gestures, these actions communicate more than any declaration ever could. Words can be rehearsed, but actions are lived. A man who prioritizes action over empty promises is demonstrating that he values integrity over validation, substance over superficiality. Another powerful aspect of this principle is self-respect. A man who aligns his actions with his words shows that he respects himself enough not to compromise his values or play games to gain attention. He understands that respect is earned through demonstration, not demanded through talk. Women naturally notice this alignment because it reflects a deeper sense of authenticity, security, and emotional maturity. It creates attraction rooted in admiration rather than obligation or pity. Moreover, actions over words provide clarity in relationships. They eliminate confusion and uncertainty because the other person can see your intentions clearly through your behavior. Whether it is showing up consistently, maintaining calm in conflict, or prioritizing your commitments, actions eliminate the gap between what is said and what is felt. Women appreciate a man who embodies his words because it signals trustworthiness, reliability, and strength. Words may spark interest, but actions solidify respect and admiration. A man who understands that actions speak louder than words builds a presence that is magnetic, dependable, and compelling. By living authentically, honoring his values, and demonstrating integrity consistently, he naturally commands respect. In the world of relationships, actions are not just proof of intent. They are the language through which respect, attraction, and seriousness are truly communicated. Boundaries are one of the most powerful tools a man can have, yet many misunderstand their purpose. They are not walls to keep people out, but lines that define who you are, what you value, and how you expect to be treated. A man who sets clear boundaries demonstrates self-respect and emotional maturity, and this is deeply attractive to women. Boundaries show that you are not willing to compromise your peace or integrity for temporary comfort or approval. They create an environment where mutual respect can flourish, and they distinguish a man who knows his worth from someone who seeks validation through control or clinginess. When a man establishes boundaries, he communicates his priorities without aggression. He knows what he will tolerate and what he will not, and he enforces these limits consistently. This consistency sends a clear message. His respect is non-negotiable. Women recognize this immediately. They understand that a man who respects himself will naturally command respect from others, and they are drawn to that energy. Boundaries are not about restriction, they are about clarity, and clarity is magnetic. Boundaries also allow a man to navigate relationships with confidence and grace. When you know your limits, you do not overextend yourself to please someone else or chase validation. You make space for authentic connection rather than forced attachment. This authenticity fosters mutual respect because both parties understand where they stand and what is expected. Women are particularly sensitive to this kind of energy. They sense when a man has inner strength and is not willing to compromise his self-worth for attention or affection. This sense of security encourages them to take the relationship seriously. Another crucial aspect of boundaries is that they cultivate self-discipline. A man who respects his time, his energy, and his emotions sends a silent but powerful message. He values himself. This discipline translates into reliability, consistency, and integrity, qualities that are universally respected. Women notice when a man can hold his ground without arrogance or aggression. They feel drawn to a presence that is firm yet respectful, strong yet composed. Boundaries create an invisible force field around a man's value, making it clear that he is not easily swayed by drama, manipulation, or unnecessary conflict. Boundaries also teach lessons without confrontation. They show what is acceptable and what is not through action and consequence. A man does not need to lecture or over-explain. He simply lives according to his principles. Women see this and respond with respect because it demonstrates maturity, self-awareness, and confidence. Boundaries are proof that a man has control over his life and emotions, and that he prioritizes his peace above fleeting gratification. Boundaries are not limitations. They are a declaration of self-worth. They create respect by showing that a man is secure, disciplined, and conscious of his value. Women are naturally drawn to this energy because it signals strength, integrity, and the capacity for a meaningful, balanced relationship. A man who understands the power of boundaries becomes magnetic, commanding respect without force and inspiring admiration through the simple act of valuing himself. Focusing on self-growth is one of the most powerful ways a man can naturally earn respect and admiration. Many people waste energy trying to impress others, seeking validation from those around them, or chasing approval, forgetting that the most magnetic force in life is a person who is fully invested in themselves. When a man prioritizes his personal growth, whether in his career, skills, mindset, health, or emotional intelligence, he radiates confidence and purpose. Women, in particular, are drawn to men who are on a journey of self-improvement because it signals ambition, stability, and a deep understanding of one's own value. Self-growth begins with awareness. A man who reflects on his strengths, weaknesses, and patterns of behavior develops clarity and emotional intelligence. He understands what he wants from life, what he will accept in relationships, and what compromises are worth making. This clarity removes desperation and dependency, replacing it with composure and confidence. When a woman sees a man who is invested in himself, she senses that his actions are intentional, not reactive. His presence becomes magnetic because he is not defined by anyone else's approval. He is defined by his commitment to becoming the best version of himself. Growth also requires discipline and persistence. It is not about temporary changes or superficial displays. It is about consistent effort and long-term commitment to self-improvement. A man who invests in his knowledge, his habits, and his character demonstrates that he respects himself enough to work for his goals. This discipline translates into reliability and consistency in every aspect of life. Women notice these qualities instantly. They respect a man who is patient with himself, dedicated to his vision, and unwilling to compromise his values for short-term gratification. Self-growth is proof that a man has control over his life, his mind, and his emotions. Another aspect of focusing on self-growth is the ability to maintain independence in relationships. A man who is constantly evolving does not rely on a woman to fulfill his happiness or define his identity. Instead, he brings completeness, stability, and richness into the relationship. This creates a sense of balance where mutual respect can thrive. Women respond to this energy because it signals strength and maturity. When a man is busy growing, he is not chasing or pleading. He is creating an environment where genuine connection, admiration, and attraction can flourish naturally. Self-growth also equips a man to handle challenges gracefully. Life is unpredictable and relationships can be complex. A man who prioritizes growth has the resilience, perspective, and emotional intelligence to navigate conflicts without losing his center. His focus on becoming better every day allows him to respond instead of react, to lead instead of follow, and to inspire instead of depend. This magnetism is subtle yet undeniable. Focusing on self-growth is the foundation for respect, admiration, and serious attraction. When a man invests in himself, he becomes a living example of confidence, integrity, and purpose. Women naturally gravitate toward men who are evolving, disciplined, and secure in their journey. Growth is not just personal development, it is the most profound way to demonstrate value, strength, and readiness for meaningful relationships. Silence is one of the most underestimated tools a man can use to gain respect and command attention. In a world where people feel the need to constantly explain, justify, or express themselves, choosing silence takes strength. It is not about being cold, distant, or uninterested. It is about understanding that words are powerful and should be used wisely. A man who masters the art of silence demonstrates self-control, confidence, and emotional intelligence. Women are naturally drawn to this presence because it signals depth, strength, and maturity, qualities that cannot be faked. Silence allows a man to observe rather than react. It gives him space to process emotions, think strategically, and understand the dynamics of any situation. Instead of reacting impulsively to drama, criticism, or conflict, a man who values silence responds intentionally, choosing actions over reactive words. This calm and composed approach makes him magnetic because it shows that he is not controlled by external circumstances or emotions. Women respect a man who can maintain his center, even when emotions run high, because it reflects self-discipline and inner strength. Another reason silence is powerful is that it creates space for others to reflect. When a man refrains from over-explaining or over-justifying, he allows the other person to see things clearly for themselves. Women notice when a man is confident enough to let situations unfold without trying to control them with words. His silence communicates more than he could ever say, sending a message that he is secure, composed, and aware of his own value. This quiet confidence naturally commands respect and attention. Silence also strengthens presence. A man who speaks less but acts intentionally creates impact. Every word carries weight. Every gesture is noticed, and every action speaks louder than 1,000 explanations. Women are drawn to men who embody this principle because they understand that true power lies in restraint and integrity, not in noise or constant persuasion. Silence is not emptiness. It is a powerful presence that communicates thoughtfulness, wisdom, and clarity. Moreover, silence fosters independence. A man who does not feel the need to explain himself constantly shows that he is not dependent on others for validation. He understands his worth and trusts his decisions. This independence is deeply attractive because it demonstrates that he is living life on his own terms, not reacting to every external pressure or opinion. Women naturally respect this, as it signals that he is confident, self-reliant, and capable of leading his own life without relying on constant approval. Silence is a tool for emotional mastery. It allows a man to respond instead of react, to listen instead of speak, and to act instead of overthinking. In relationships, this skill creates space for respect, understanding, and connection rather than conflict, confusion, or manipulation. A man who understands the power of silence does not need to chase or plead for respect. He naturally commands it. His calm, measured presence inspires admiration, trust, and seriousness. Silence is not absence, it is strength. It communicates confidence, emotional intelligence, and self-respect in ways that words cannot. Women recognize this, feel it, and are naturally drawn to it because silence, when used wisely, creates space for respect, attraction, and meaningful connection to flourish. Letting go is often misunderstood as giving up, losing interest, or showing weakness. In reality, letting go is the ultimate demonstration of strength, confidence, and emotional maturity. When a man lets go, he is not abandoning the relationship or the person. He is releasing control over outcomes, expectations, and neediness. This act of detachment creates a powerful shift in energy, one that invites genuine effort and respect from the other person. Women, in particular, respond to this dynamic because they instinctively sense the difference between desperation and composed strength. When a man lets go, he signals that he values himself, his peace, and his dignity above temporary gratification, and this energy naturally demands seriousness and commitment in return. Letting go invites mutual effort because it establishes balance. In any relationship, effort should flow both ways. When a man clings, over-explains, or tries to force connection, he inadvertently takes on more responsibility than necessary. This imbalance often creates frustration, resentment, and a lack of respect. However, when he releases the need to control or chase, he places the relationship on a foundation of equality. By stepping back, he allows space for the woman to show her true intentions, take responsibility for her actions, and invest in the connection willingly. Mutual effort is not coerced. It is earned and freely given when the energy of detachment and self-respect is present. Letting go also fosters authenticity. When a man stops overreacting or trying to manipulate outcomes, he allows the relationship to exist in its natural state. This authenticity encourages the other person to be genuine as well. Women respect and respond to men who are real, consistent, and unwavering in their self-worth. The act of letting go communicates a subtle yet profound message that the man values himself and expects the same in return. He is not desperate for approval or affection, but he is fully open to connection and collaboration with someone who is equally committed. Furthermore, letting go strengthens boundaries. A man who releases control over outcomes or the behavior of others demonstrates that he will not tolerate disrespect, manipulation, or imbalance. These boundaries set a standard for mutual effort. Women naturally recognize and respect men who uphold their limits because it shows courage, integrity, and self-awareness. Letting go does not mean indifference. It means valuing yourself enough to expect that others meet you halfway. It creates an energy where effort is reciprocated rather than extracted, and respect is earned rather than demanded. Letting go cultivates patience, resilience, and emotional stability. Life and relationships are unpredictable, and not everything will go according to plan. A man who lets go trusts the process and focuses on what he can control: himself, his growth, and his integrity. This mindset inspires mutual effort because it creates a space where connection is voluntary, genuine, and sustainable. Women are drawn to this energy because it signals strength, confidence, and emotional intelligence. Letting go is not weakness. It is empowerment. It shifts the dynamic from one-sided pursuit to mutual investment, creating an environment where respect, effort, and commitment flourish naturally. When a man lets go, he invites a relationship built on authenticity, balance, and reciprocity, where both partners contribute willingly and wholeheartedly. At the heart of every meaningful connection lies respect, authenticity, and balance. When a man lets go, chooses freedom over control, prioritizes growth, and trusts in his own value, he radiates a strength that cannot be ignored. Women naturally respond to this energy, not out of obligation or fear, but out of genuine admiration and respect. Every choice to act with integrity, to set boundaries, to remain composed, and to invest in oneself is a signal that you are a man of substance. Letting go is not surrender. It is mastery. It transforms relationships, commands respect, and invites mutual effort, creating connections that are rooted in authenticity, balance, and lasting admiration. True respect is earned through presence, consistency, and self-respect. And when you embody these principles, you are no longer chasing. It is life and those who matter who follow your lead.